Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us on our next subject today. Once again, on the African Reform Movement channel, you are welcome. I want to say a big welcome to everybody who's joining us for the very first time. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. In the chat box, if you're joining us for the first time, please say how it is you learned about this channel and what your thoughts so far. We'd love to hear from you. So if you're joining us for the first time again as well, I just want to give you a few of our housekeeping rules. Dr. Nii has a number of social media platforms, so please feel free to connect with him there. Any questions you have about anything to do with African Reform Movement, please connect with him on one of these platforms. All of this information is in the description box on his YouTube channel. So if you don't get it right now, don't worry about it. You can still contact him via there. We ask that you send all questions in live. What happens sometimes is that just as we've logged off, people have sent in questions and we can't answer those questions. So if there's anything that you want to speak to Dr. Nii about, or there are any issues that you want him to address, please send it in whilst we are live on air before we log off so that he can answer them for you, okay? Dr. Nii is a prolific author. He's written a number of books, and he's mentioned the Fifth Republic a few times. This can be purchased at his Book Nook store. Please log on there and you'll be able to purchase a book and read in your own time, and again, connect with him if you have any further questions. Dr. Nii also has his own website, Sankofa Africa, where he writes a number of articles and he posts different articles about what's happening in and around the African continent. So please check that out. Okay, so today our topic is about Ghana. Ghana must be born again. Ghana must be born again. In fact, the whole continent of Africa must be born again as far as I'm concerned. But let's start with Ghana. So Dr. Nii, good morning, you're welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Uche. Thank you very much. And for all those who have taken up their time to watch and listen to me. Today, we are talking about Ghana must be born again. It means that Ghana must move from one level to another level. Ghana must be born again. Verily, verily, I say unto you, you must be born again. To enter into the kingdom of heaven, you must be born again. For Ghana to become a developed nation, Ghana must be born again. Yes. Today, what we are going to do is to see how we can move from an underdeveloped nation to that of a developed nation. We must be born again. And the whole idea is that the people must know how this rebirth process can take place. This is the manifesto of the people. Now, I first got to know of manifestos in 1980. We did Revolutions of the World in Form 2. And our teacher then was Alfred Saki. Alfred Saki taught us history from written by F.K. Bua. And part of the things we studied in the first term was Revolutions of the World. And one of the revolutions we studied was the Russian Revolution. Fortunately for me, the Russian bookshop, the Russian Center, Cultural Center, and the Russian Embassy, they are all in Osu, about 100 meters each from our house. So when we came home for Christmas holidays, I went to a Russian bookshop, just about 100 meters or so from our house. And I bought few books there. Manifesto of the Communist Party, Emancipation of Women, Struggle of the Working Class. I remember these 3 books, and I had them with me in Australia. When I showed the books to Shika with my name in, date sign, he said, wow. So he said this in way back 1980 years. I was 13 years old then. So that's when I got to know about manifestos. Now, today, I'm talking to you about the manifesto of the people of Ghana, how it's going to be like. But I was looking for something 2 friends of mine sent to me about where is the wealth of nations. And I was going to read the last part. Unfortunately, it's on the same phone I'm talking to you from. So I don't know. I'm just checking my email, whether I can find it and read it to you. But basically, I can tell you what it says. The last part Oh, no, I can't find it in my. Oh, no, this is bad. All right. Let's see whether I can find it here. I'll definitely have to read it to you. Where is that? Okay. The World Bank study bolsters the deep insights of the late developed economist Peter Boyle in his brilliant 1972 book, Descent on Development. Boyle wrote, if all conditions for development other than capital are present, capital will soon be generated locally or will be available from abroad. If, however, the conditions for development are not present, then aid will be necessarily unproductive and therefore ineffective. Thus, if the mainsprings of development are present, material progress will occur even without foreign aid. If they are absent, it will not occur even with aid.
Oh, Dr. Nii, you still there? Okay, I seem to have lost connection. Spare me 1 second. Can you hear me, Dr. Nii? Just bear with us. Dr. Nii said that he's where he's staying at the moment, the internet connection isn't that great. So just bear with us a second. Oh, yeah, screen's frozen. I do apologize, everybody. Just bear with me 1 second. Hello, Dr. Nii, can you hear me? Just give him a few moments while he reconnects his internet. Aha, we have movement. Okay, you're back.
Okay, all right, good. All right,
yeah,
good. All right, so I was reading Peter Boyle's statement, or he wrote an article in 1972, Descent in Development, and he was saying that if all the other conditions for development are present, except capital. Okay, let me see this one. Let me try and connect here. Whether I'm trying to connect on the laptop.
Okay.
Oh, good.
No, I can. Your face doesn't appear on the laptop, but it's still on your phone.
Okay, let me just see. Can you hear me? Can you see me on the laptop?
No.
Good.
Just on your phone.
Just on my phone. Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, so let's just go. All he was saying was that Peter Boyle was saying that if all the conditions for development are present, except capital, then capital will be generated either locally or with foreign or from foreign. But if the conditions are not present, then even foreign aid or loans will be ineffective. In other words, what you need to develop is not loan or aid. What you need to develop is the conditions necessary for development. Now, when I read that, I understood immediately, because this article was written by Paul Bailey in 2007. But it was sent to me by two friends of mine, Eric Engman and Francis Butchie. And the topic was, where is the wealth of nations? I immediately understood the concluding part, because I know that development capital is like a seed. Okay, it's like a seed. And I know that when you sow seed, for the seed to grow, the seed needs certain conditions. It needs good soil, it needs good water, it needs good sun exposure. When all these conditions are present, the seed will grow. That's development for you. Now, when this seed falls among tongues, when this seed falls among tongues, and it's being choked here and there, the seed cannot grow. It doesn't matter where the seed comes from. Whether it comes locally or from foreign loans, the seed will not grow. So what Peter Ball wrote 72, that was called a brilliant discussion on the topic of dissenting development. We know it already because the master has said it in the Bible. It's about the seed, how the seed grows, what makes the seed grow, and what makes the seed not to grow. And that is development. Okay, first slide. Ghana must be born again from an underdeveloped to a developed nation. The manifesto of the people. The manifesto of the people. Next slide. So this is going to be my manifesto that's going to be used for the 2024 elections. It's going to be in, I think, 4 or 5 parts. The first part, the people, the land, and the states. So chapter 1 will be the people and the land, and chapter 2, the state from 1874 to 1957. How the political evolution of Ghana up to the point of independence. The chapter 1 will be the people and the land. You have to know where we came from. Because if you are writing the manifesto of the people, then you have to know who the people are and where they came from. Next slide. Part 2, the gold standards. These are the stars to follow. Once you understand the people and where we came from, then you know the major epochs in our development, the people, the powerful people who have come together at different points in our history to present what we have now, and then to be the light, how to get to the point of being a developed nation, what they did in that time, and what we need to do, taking cues from them. They are the gold standards, the stars to follow. 1, Asemeni. 2, Anochi and Tutu. 3, Tetekwashi. 4, Agri. So chapter 3 will be on Asemeni. Chapter 4 will be on Anochi and Tutu. Chapter 5 will be on Tetekwashi. Chapter 6 will be on Agri of Africa. Next slide. So we're just going through the parts and chapters of the book. Framework of government. Framework of government. The preamble of our constitution says that we have the right to establish a framework of government that will secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings of liberty, the equality of opportunity, and prosperity. So we now know that in order to develop, we need a framework of government that will ensure peace. Now, what do you mean by a framework of government? The structure of the state, the structure of the government, and representation of the people. This chapter 7 will be structure of the state as I envision it, as I see that we need this structure to move from an underdeveloped nation to that of a developed nation. The structure of the state. So far, what you have has failed. It's taking us from a third world to a fourth world. All right, we have retrogressed. And the structure of government has made us worse than we were before. The representative people, now that place, the parliament has become a boxing ring. We need a new framework of government. So that's what chapter 3 will be about. Part 3 will be about. Chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9. We are still talking about the manifesto of the people, because to move from from an underdeveloped world or nation, that of a developed nation, you need to get the grounds right, okay? You need to get the environment correct so that when you put the seed in, the seed will germinate. It just doesn't happen because you can contract loan from here, you can collect aid from here. No. Because in the absence of the correct environment for development, the aid will be unproductive and ineffective. But when you have the correct environment, then the money can be found easily, either locally or even foreign. That is what Peter Ball said in 1972 in the book Descent in Development, which the World Bank agrees to. And I'm saying I know that because I know how a seed germinates and when and why a seed will germinate and not germinate. So we are talking about the environment, framework of government. When Obama came to Ghana, what did he say? He said that, make no mistake, development depends on good governance. And that is one single thing that has been missing in many parts of Africa for so long. We need the proper framework of government to move from an underdeveloped country to that of a developed country. It will never happen by magic. All right, next slide. So what is development? Part 4, development. Now, you are getting all the things together. And the last time I was talking about this thing, but in very brief, I'm telling you that even when God decided to create the world, the first thing he did was to create light, energy. Without energy, nothing works. To move from an underdeveloped nation to that of a developed nation, you first and foremost, before any other infrastructure, you need energy. I'm talking to you now because there is energy here. We have electric power. You need energy, and you need it in abundance. And in our setting, we need energy for domestic use, for commercial use, for industrial use, for everything, plus export, to get the money back, to pay whoever gave us the money in the first place. You cannot get money from anybody without having a mechanism to pay that money back. We need energy for the new economy. The next thing we need for the new economy is transport and communication. Now, we are talking about the manifesto of the people. The next thing we need is transport and communication. Transport means good movement of people and goods. And communication means largely transport or transfer of services. These are the pillars: movement of people and goods and services. These are the pillars. And we are doing this because we have to find a mechanism to pay whoever will give us the money to do what we want to do. And this is what generates the money. Once you have built an economy, an energy economy, once you have built a moving economy, you have enough money to do other things like health, which is here. And the last time I said 3 things. 3 things. You need help. And the key to the health we need in our particular instance is first and foremost to eradicate malaria. It is more than half of our outpatient attendances. To eradicate malaria. We know it's environmental health because malaria is in the environment. As I walk through and drive to Accra, I see gutters choked. I see bushes around houses. No, this is a gold standard for malaria proliferation. If you can deal with malaria once, our outpatient attendance will drop by more than half, will drop by 55%. And then we take the other ones, which are diarrhea diseases and upper respiratory infection. They are all linked because children who have malaria and immunity is weak, they get these things very easy. Poor nutrition, poverty, they all feed into upper respiratory infections and diarrhea diseases. These are the 3 key things. Once we fix one, with this, we know that we basically have sorted out our primary healthcare business. 80% done with. And then we are talking of building a new economy. Health is wealth. Never forget that. Once you have healthy people, you're going to have wealthy people. You can never tax poverty, you can only tax wealth. So before you even think of taxing anybody, these are the things that must be in place before you think you must create wealth through healthy people. It's going to be big part 4 in the book. All right. Then chapter 13 is science and technology. Now, let me say this. In spite of all that I have said, one must never forget that Ghana is a very small country. And my approach to science and technology is that of China. 90% of the things China is producing today is not from technology that it created, but it's from technology that he adopted from others and adapted. We do not have the means and even the capacity to create new things. We are going to be like China, and whatever others have created, will adopt and adapt. So for me, deep investment into creative technology is not part of my agenda. The key to my part of my agenda is to adopt and adapt what America and those with big money, some of them they've taken their money from us, what they have done. That's what we are going to do. But I'll write a bit more on that in chapter 13. Next slide, please. World creation and finance. World creation. I think this is the last. Oh no, there's a 6th chapter. Okay. World creation. Okay. So now, World of Nations. That was what I was talking about before. And once I've gone through this, I'll come back to this World of Nations, because that is where the world is. We have to understand what world is about. And then we can move from there. Because without that, we are not going to go anywhere too soon. World of Nations, that was going to be chapter 14. And chapter 15 is going to be the new economy, which I've spoken about before as GMT, that is Gettysburg, Makola, Thatcher system. I spoke about it a few weeks ago, but I'm going to go into details in chapter 15, the new economy. Now, chapter 16 is going to be reverse colonialism. I spoke about it the last time briefly, about the fact that we have to come out from where we are now to understand what colonialism means. Colonialism means that you've gone to a place, you've created a colony there. Okay, that colony is supposed to serve your interest. In classical colonialism, that Ghana, Nigeria, India, Pakistan, whatever, Tanzania, Uganda, all of us went through under the British. They made our countries external arms of their British economy. We played a role. We played a big role. We became the producers of raw materials and consumers of finished material. All right. So they took our things raw, they added value to it, and then they sold it back to us at prices 100 times more than what they bought the raw products or the raw materials for. That is their model of development, and that's the model of creating wealth for them. Now, we can also make our people there, constitute our people there into colonies. Because in India, I remember very well, Mahatma Gandhi saying that they will see the wisdom, the British will see the wisdom in 100,000 people colonizing 300 million people. They will see the wisdom in that. Of course, there was no wisdom in that. So now, if the 100,000 people could control 300 million people, I can tell there are more than 100,000 Ghanaians in America, and there are more than 100,000 Ghanaians in England, and there are more than 1,000 Ghanaians in other parts of Europe. So we can also become a colony there. And when we become a colony, we are going to take our money, their money from their country back into our country, so that we consider ourselves the external arms of our country in their countries. So we reverse the colonialism that they brought to us. We reverse classical colonialism, and we make use of the money that they have there to develop our country. That is one of the key sources of finance on my agenda. Like you have heard, Peter Boyle was saying that if all conditions except capital, if all conditions of development except capital are present, then capital will be generated locally or foreign. But if capital or if foreign aid or capital from wherever is present, but the other conditions are not, then the aid will be unproductive and ineffective. That is what we have now in Ghana. That is what we have now in Africa. And we know it. It's ineffective. It just becomes a burden that we have to pay back, because there is no way you can pour water into a basket with holes and think the water will hold. That is what we have now. So for us to understand this, we have to know exactly what capital is. We can generate this capital ourselves, but it will be ineffective if the other conditions are not present. It doesn't matter whether the seed is from me or from your brother or from your sister. If you put in the wrong soil, no water, no sunshine, that seed will die. Then we have the Joseph's principle and the Nehemiah's principle. This one, I'll leave them for the book. I'm not going to go into it deeply because of the plagiarist. Next slide. The end. Chapter 6 is the end. Ghana must be born again. And chapter 19 is talking about a new nation called Sikamai. And then talking about the new state, the first state. Now, these are my special topics, these two. And you see them big you see them big in the book. But this is the background, 20 chapters. And I'm looking at probably 6 pages per chapter. So we're looking at maybe 120 pages. I don't want you to do big so that people do not read. But I know the way we behave when it comes to reading. Now, we go back to the 2 slides before this. That's where I'll talk a little bit, then we'll end today. Hopefully. Oh, then the next one, the 5th one, sorry. Yeah, Wealth of Nation. You realize that in the 4th part, I didn't talk about education. I just spoke about energy, transport and communication, health, and the 4th one was science and technology. Actually, I didn't talk about education. Now, the reason I didn't talk about education is because I'm talking education and the wealth of nations. Paul Bailey wrote an article, Where is the Wealth of Nations? Based on studying the World Bank Environmental Economics Department. He wrote this article on the 29th of September 2007. Extraordinarily good article. And 2 friends sent the article to me because they felt that it looked like something I had written before. I wrote about why are we so poor? Why are we so underdeveloped? I'm not an economist. I cannot even pretend to be one. So I didn't write you the figures they had. I mean, the figures that the World Bank had in their position when they did their research and wrote their book. But the principle was the same. So they sent it to me. I said, wow, this is interesting. That means that I'm on the right path. Anyway, basically, they're saying that the wealth of nations, there are 3 types of wealth: natural wealth, produced wealth, and intangible wealth. Natural wealth is oil, coal, gas, whatever. And they say that for developed nations, it constitutes only 3% of their total wealth. And then the second word, produced wealth, is infrastructure, manufacturing companies, manufacturing, whatever. And they constitute only 17%. But the wealth of nations, 80% of the wealth of nations can be found in what they call the intangible wealth. And this intangible wealth is made up of 2 big areas: rule of law, or the value of institutions as measured by rule of law. Values of institutions as measured by rule of law. And it comes with a good judicial system, effective government, good home security, personal security, clear property rights, and what was the fifth one? Effective government, good judiciary, trust among people, trust among people, personal security, clear property rights. 5 main things constitute rule of law, the value of institutions. And you know that we don't take one of these. The key here, rule of law, is the judicial system, effective government, trust among people, personal security, and clear property rights. We don't have any of these. This is the soil. This is what amplifies and augments the productive system. It augments and amplifies the economic process that brings wealth. And the next one is education, a good education system. That's why I didn't put education up with the other ones, because wealth of nations is created. 57% of the 80% of wealth of nations is in rule of law. So when the courts are misbehaving and they think they are doing the government a favor, they are being marked down by the international community. They are being marked down by the economic forces of the world. Nobody trusts a country where the judicial system does not work. Nobody trusts a country where there are no clear property rights. Nobody trusts a country where personal security is an issue. Nobody trusts a country where effective government does not exist. Nobody trusts a country where there is no trust. These are the issues. So it doesn't matter who is the president, whether it's Nkrumah who sacked the Chief Justice because the Chief Justice did what the judge didn't like, or whether it was Buzia who said the Supreme Court could not tell him what to do, or whether it was under Rawlings that High Court judges were abducted and killed, or whether it was John Mahama who released people who are threatening to rape and maim Supreme Court judges, or whether it's Akufo-Addo who has decided to pack the Supreme Court for political effect. These people are all deformational leaders. Okay, let's get the point very clear. When you do that, you are destroying your intangible world. When you do that, you are making your country poor. It doesn't matter the propaganda. Okay, and that's what CLR James wrote to Nkrumah about in December 63. He said, Mr. President, you cannot sack your Chief Justice. If you sack your Chief Justice, you have sacked all of us. CLR James, who was Nkrumah's mentor and advisor, stopped the job as being an advisor to Nkrumah because Nkrumah intervened and interfered with the justice system because it made Ghana poor. Our intangible world dropped because you cannot do that. And he asked him to go to reinstate and apologize to the Chief Justice. But Nkrumah didn't do that. He thought he was doing it, but he did the wrong thing. In the end, he realized that he was wrong. Okay, you cannot do that. You cannot have the judiciary because the rule of law is the key mainspring of wealth creation. Buzia, you cannot tell the Supreme Court, the court cannot tell you anything. You cannot do that. When you did that, you are deforming the nation. You are destroying the nation's potential of wealth creation. Abducting and killing justices of the High Court does not work. It makes the country poorer. And Kufuor packing the Supreme Court so that you have a desired result destroys the nation. You make the country poorer. And John Mahama going out there and using a wacko, whatever from the Constitution to release people who have been in prison because they insulted and threatened to rape Supreme Court judges is wrong. You made the country poorer. 57% of the 80% that is attributed to wealth creation is rule of law. When you interfere with rule of law, you interfere with wealth creation, interfere with the prospect of intangible wealth. And this is the problem we have. Nana Akufo-Addo packing the Supreme Court with justices that would give verdicts to you. You are destroying the nation. You are making the nation poorer. And when we write about the manifesto of the people, we are going to make this a mainspring. Because without this, we cannot create wealth to provide services that this nation needs. We cannot. All our leaders, probably with the exception of Achampo, all of them, who have had the time to serve more than 1 term, more than 4 years, all of them were deformational because they deform the judicial process. They deform the mainspring of intangible world creation. The reason why, you see, we don't understand these things, but after going around the past 4 weeks I've been here, I have seen major problems. Let me tell you, any migrant from Ghana who goes to Australia will be 10 times more productive because the system is there to support productive work. Any migrant who goes to UK, who goes to America to go and work will be more productive than if he's here. My colleagues, doctors here, I know they are struggling, they are frustrated because the system doesn't support productive work. Think about what they are doing with this Ghana card business. Everything is wrong. The same person, the same nurse who is always angry at Nkolubu or whatever, when they leave country to a civilized place, the person is more productive. The person is happier. Why? Because we are putting the seed in among tongues. The seed cannot grow. Unless we clear all these things, there is no way any loan or aid will make any difference. It will be ineffective and unproductive. To have a nation move from a third world or even from an underdeveloped world to a first world, it takes clearing the weeds, clearing the thorns, giving good soil, good sun exposure, and good water. And that is what the manifesto of the people will try to establish. The next mainspring of intangible world is good system of education. Good system of education. You can't escape that. So 2 things, human capacity and value of institutions, they form almost 80% of the world of nations. Human capacity is education, and value of institutions is rule of law. We don't have any in this country. Now, let me tell you something. In the last budget, 4% of GDP was devoted to education. That is hopeless. UNESCO recommends at least 6%. When we come, we're going to start with 10% and end with 12%. Like Castro did in Cuba. And when that happens, if our GDP is 60 billion, then we're talking of giving education 6 billion. Now, when you give $6 billion, where is it going to go? First and foremost, and I'm saying this, first and foremost, we are going to take that money. Barest minimum of that money, 50%, barest 50% into primary education. You see, you train a child the way it should go, and when it grows, you will not depart from it. If you are going to have a good education system, it must start from the beginning. We are going to create a primary education system that it doesn't matter where you live. First of all, we're going to roll out the experimental school system. Then we start a FITU that I never was able to complete after 14 years. Okay, we'll take 1 year, 2 years, we'll finish roll out across. We'll have at least $6 billion to do that. Having said that, you're going to have the full effect if you're able within 4 years to raise our GDP from 60 billion to probably 120 billion. or 180 billion. They will even have more money, because I can tell you that what Lee Kuan Yew did in 35 years, we will do it in Ghana in 7.5 years. So we'll do it half the time it used to, because this is Ghana. We have more resources than they do, and we can do much better within a short time if we have the same attitude and we have the same rule of law in Singapore, here in Ghana. Mind you, Singapore rule of law is not partisan. One of Lee Kuan Yew's ministers, when he was accused of corruption, he hanged himself rather than go face the court, because the court was ruthless. It doesn't matter who you are. In Ghana, people belong to a particular. It doesn't matter which government, whether it's NDC government or NPP government, they do whatever they like and nothing happens. That's not rule of law. Nobody respects a country like that. A minister committed suicide because he was scared to face the law. That's a country of rule of law, and that's what we have in the country. If we can have that in this country, I'm telling you, whatever Lee Kuan Yew took 10 years to do, will take 5 years to do it. Education. Today, I think Singapore is the second or third best educated nation on earth. They've overtaken their colonial masters like United Kingdom. Today, in the Commonwealth, GDP per capita, GDP per population, Singapore is number 1. Australia is number 2, Canada is number 3, United Kingdom is number 4. The colonial master is number 4. Its former colonies are number 1, 2, and 3. So Ghana can also do it. But to do that, we need to have rule of law. To do that, we need to have good education system. Now, I'm going to use 10% of GDP as a starting point for education. And at least half of that money will go to primary public education, to lift the game up from that of local authority schools to experimental, and to the point of even university, university primary schools or whatever they call them. We are going to make sure that it doesn't matter which school you go to in Ghana, you have equal access to the best that this country can offer. This is the manifesto of the people, and I'm telling you where the money will come from already. And I'm telling you how much I'm going to do useful already. And then we come to junior secondary school. We're going to have senior secondary. We're going to have secondary school, okay? 6 years of secondary school. 6 years of secondary school. When anybody goes to class 1, that person must have the chance to complete 6 years of secondary education. The person may decide to drop on his own, but it must never be because of examination. Last year, that's 2021, the completion rate of education in my state of Victoria, Australia, was 98.3%. Those who went to class 1, 98.3% of them finished VC year 12. And that is what I want for Ghana. Only the best is good for Ghana.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Nii. Thank you so much for a very clear presentation of what it is you're looking to do. Much appreciated. So let's go through here and have some of the questions. Okay. First one is Shika. So, what are the 3 main things in the proper framework of government that we need?
3 main things is, first of all, you have to define the state. So we've got to deal with the structure of the state. And as you know, I'm a federalist, okay? So the structure of the state is not going to be this unitary state, it's going to be economic federalism. Okay, now then you look at the structure of government itself. How is the government going to be, how is it going to be constituted? And now we have one-party government. And you know I'm against one-party government. So you're going to have, in the constitutional framework, government of national unity. And I'm saying it, and I'll say it again, that in that framework, any person or any group or whatever that contests the presidential elections, if that group gets 5% of the popular vote, that person will have 1 cabinet position. If a group gets 20% of the popular vote, that group will have 4 cabinet positions. So at the end of the day, it's not going to be one party government, because we need capacity. We need human capacity, and we need to bring people from all walks of life to feel that they are part of Ghana and do that. If the people give 20% of their mandate to a particular person, that person must be represented in parliament, in cabinet, with 4 ministers out of 25. Now, then we have representation of the people. That's the third plank. The third plank, so the first is the structure of the state, second structure of the government, and the third one is representation of the people. Okay, that happens at two levels. At the level of the cabinet, any state, any region that polls 5% of the popular vote will also have one member in cabinet. The people must be represented in. So if a region has 10% of the votes, the region will have two members. In fact, we will never give the president the power to appoint his friends and family in the government anymore. It's going to be on percentages based on polls, whatever, for regions or for those who participated in the election. So that's one level. The second level is parliamentary representation. The people, a good democracy must reflect the demography. All right. The demography means that if you vote for elections and Ashanti region has 20% of the vote in the elections, then 20% of representation in parliament will have to be Ashanti region. If Volta region has 8%, then 8% of the members of parliament should come from Volta region. If Central region has 10%, then 10% will have to come from Central region. If Greater Accra has 20%, 20% will have to come from Greater Accra. If Northern region has 10%, 10% will have to come from Northern region. It's as simple as that. The people must be fairly represented in parliament. Democracy must reflect demography. That's what they call the fair state. Okay, so these are the three mainsprings of the framework of government. There are details, but these will come in a book. We can't talk about a whole book in 30 or 40 minutes. But basically, this is what it means.
Okay. So, right, for those of you who've posted comments, if we have time, I'll get to the comments later, but I want to go to the questions first of all, okay? Here's another question. Look, I have no objection to the use of biblical analogies or references, but don't you think you risk alienating a section of the population who may not be Christians but need to hear your message?
No. I haven't used any biblical anything. I just use a simple truth that if you put a seed in the soil must be good. All right, the soil must be good, and the soil must have adequate exposure to the sunlight, and the soil must have good water. That's a simple truth. That's why when there's no rain, our crops go dead. So it's not a biblical truth, it's a natural truth. All right. Now, if anybody doesn't want to lose the natural truth, the person can actually go. The person is not worth it. If anybody doesn't want to know or doesn't appreciate the fact that if you put seed among thorns, it's not going to grow because I saw it from the Bible, then the person is not worth it. It's as simple as that. Okay, there is only one truth. So don't worry, people will listen. Nobody objects to the truth. Because people can say, all right, I don't want to read Shakespeare because I'm not English. Well, you can go. Or, oh, no, I don't want to listen to Confanoche because I'm not an Ashanti. Well, you can go. People always have a problem with something, but the truth is the truth, and we have to see the truth powerfully and forcefully. So I know where you're coming from, but believe you me, I'm not addressing Christians. I'm addressing Ghanaians with a simple truth that our development will never happen if the conditions necessary for development are not there. Thank you.
So, Dr. Nii, before I go to the next question, is there any way you can sit up a bit because you're right at the bottom of my screen? Is there any way you can elevate yourself? Okay, there you go. That's better. That's better. Thank you. Okay, another one from Hubert Baidu. He says, Doc, is it about how much is allocated to a sector or what specifically it is used for in that sector? The 4% spent on education could have been very impactful if there were proper planning.
No. How much is allocated and how it's used, both are important. Because if I give you 4 cities and if I give you 10 cities, the outcome will be different. They say if I give 4 cities to you and I give 10 cities to you, the same person, the output will be different. That's the point. And there's a reason why UNESCO decided that it should be at least 6%. So 4%, doing the same thing, the same person, 4% will never have the same effect as 10%. Otherwise, let's give 1%.
So another question here from Eric Engman. What is the difference between the experimental schools with the current schools we have at the primary level?
Okay. So, Eric, the experimental schools are like the homeschool. You know homeschool, no? So yes, homeschool is an experimental school. And in 1952, Nkrumah started them. People like Chachutika and the rest, they went to the Newtown experimental school. Chachu and his brother and Nana Konedo and the rest, they all went to experimental school. At that point, Nkrumah brought the experimental school system so that it will wipe out the middle school. So that at the age of class 6, you were to go to secondary school. Okay, so the experimental school system was very, very similar to the university primary school system and the armed forces schools. There was no middle school attached to them. It was meant to be from primary school to secondary school, whereas the public system was from primary school to middle school before secondary school, if you ever get there at all. Now, what happened was that the rollout never occurred. From 52 to 1960, when Nkrumah was overthrown, you couldn't build one more than what he started with because he used all the money for education, which was mega anyway, to build expensive boarding schools. So there was no more money left. So that's the main difference. The difference was the philosophy of creating an experimental school and the content of what they used to teach them. Now, as we are talking right now, we have 5 different streams of school in the public sector. We have LA schools, local authority schools. We have mission schools. We have experimental schools. We have the army and barrack schools. And we have the university primary schools. Now, they all operate at different levels. The lowest level is the local authority. So what I'm saying is that, Ojingo, want a school like Salem 1 and Salem 2, or Salem 4 and Salem 5 and Salem 6 to be like home school, so that you could leave from class 6 to secondary school effectively. Now, there's no more common entrance, but you see, the products are still so weak that those who go to Salem 5 and Salem 6, when they go to junior secondary, they hardly progress to senior secondary. And if they do, they even go to very weak senior secondary schools that they don't progress to university. We want them to go to JHS, like those from homeschool, so that they could go to secondary school and they could go to university. So those are the differences. Thank you.
Okay. So next question again from Eric. What are we fundamentally going to change to improve the rule of law?
The change will have to come from leadership and the constitution. The change will have to come from leadership and the constitution. Because when a president has the power to appoint all members of the Supreme Court, and there's no upper limit to that Supreme Court, the president will be able, the temptation to pass the Supreme Court with his friends and family is very high. So first of all, we're going to cap the Supreme Court judges to 7. And secondly, we're going to make sure that it's not the president who appoints them. That to be independent. So the Judicial Service Commission of Ghana will advertise for a vacancy in the Supreme Court. And people will apply, they'll be interviewed, and 2 or 3 of them will be shortlisted, and they will face the Council of State. And the Council of State will also, not this Council of State, the new Council of State. The Council of State will also go through them, interview them, and they'll vote on the floor. Whoever wins joins the Supreme Court. We have to stop the reliance of the judiciary on the executive. That's the main thing. And the same thing will apply to the IGP for security. The president will not appoint the IGP anymore. It will go through the same process. But even more importantly, under eco-federalism, law and order will be a function of the state. So of state government and not of national government. Like we have in Australia, like we have in South Africa, like even having UK. Scotland Yard is actually effectively responsible for security in London. Not the Prime Minister. Today, as you are speaking now, they are investigating the Prime Minister. Can that happen in Ghana? They are investigating the Prime Minister. Sue Gray has submitted her report about parties in Downing Street as we are talking now. That's what they call rule of law. Sue Gray, an ordinary civil servant, has written a report that the Prime Minister is scared to fully release. So a lot can be done to make rule of law real in Ghana. Can Scotland, Scotland is not investigating the Prime Minister. Can that happen in Ghana? So you see why they are more prosperous than we are. Yes, this is what they call rule of law.
Okay.
Next topic.
Philip has said, can we have a hybrid type of education, i.e. foreign and our local Ghanaian needs assessment, so we don't produce graduates who aren't fit for purpose?
Yeah. I know where Philip is coming from.
Okay.
You know, Ghanaians like to hide behind things. There's only one science. There's only one nuclear science. There's only one medicine. There's only one engineering. There's no local engineering. There's no local science. There's no local nothing. Singapore did not fight between foreign and local education. Today, they are more educated than any foreign power that you know of. So the issue is not foreign or local. The issue is appropriate. Whatever is appropriate is appropriate. I have a view that the kind of education we have, both the structure and the content, needs serious refurbishment, not because it's local or it's foreign, but it's not modern. So yes, hybrid, solo, tribrid, and all those things here, they all play a little bit. Fundamentally, it must be appropriate. We have to shape our economy, and education must fit into it. We have to shape our science base, and education must fit into it. We have to shape our political base, and education must fit. So all these things, we say like, okay, so how can we move from here to there? How did this boat do it? How did this boat do it? Can we copy them? Can we improve upon them? So we look at it holistically. But I don't want to narrow myself to foreign local, because it doesn't say much. But I understand where you're coming from. Let's not hide behind foreign or local. Let's look at what's the most appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Next question again from 10 Talents Royal Media. Inequality is multidimensional, but largely driven by big business and a politics of elitism. The rule of law in Ghana is often compromised by money. How do you propose to balance both?
You know what? 10 Talents, 10 Talents. Then I realized that she's actually, I called her, but I realized she's a female, actually, a good female friend of mine. Yeah, I hear you. Can you please bring up the question again?
Yeah.
Yeah, inequality is multidimensional. Okay, but like doing by big business and policy of elitism, that is true. You see, so now looking at what you have said brings into sharp focus my concept of the fair state. You see, for me, talking to you, I went to a public school system. Okay. Now, I was fortunate because I went to one of the best public school systems in the country. Just because of where I was born. That's why, you see, opportunity, as we now know that good education system is a source of wealth creation. Now, between me and others in my generation who did not go to public school, who went to private schools, education has bridged the gap between me and them. So to bridge the gap between elitism, you see, we have a big problem in this country. To bridge the gap between elitism, or between the high and the low, between the educated and uneducated, we need a fairer system of funding of education. Once you bring the education gap, you bridge all social gaps. And that's why ARM, our motto is bridging the gap, because that's what I believe. Education bridged the gap between me and others who were more fortunate than myself when I was growing up. And they can do the same for everybody. You see, when you live in a country,
oh, you're frozen, Dr. Nii. Just give us a moment, folks. 1 second. Okay, you're back. You're frozen again, Dr. Nii.
hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Oh, you've gone again.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. All right. Yeah. Now, when you live in a country of 13.5 million, when you live in a country, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, when you live in a country of 13.5 million, but only 32,000 could write O levels, then you know that that country is very elitist. The education of that country is very, very elitist. When you live in a country, in my year 1984, the population was 13.5 million. Only 32,000 of us wrote O levels, and in 2 years' time, only 8,000 of us wrote A levels. And when we went to university, only 3,000 of us from 14 million people went to university. That is extraordinarily elitist. When I went to university in 1987, only 8,450 Ghanaians were in university. The whole Ghana, only 8,000. So that is very, very elitist. Now, to break that elitism, you got to change the game plan for education. To break that elitism, and that's where we come in. That's why I'm saying that I'm going to fund so much into primary education to open up the space for everybody. You go and do exams, common entrance, O level, A level, 3 extended examination before you go to university. It's going to be only 1 now. So we'll try and balance it. It's not going to be easy, but we'll balance it.
Okay. Right, one final question here. It's from Lucille Oyobo, sorry. Currently, the judiciary does not appear to be impartial. How do we make that system more independent?
Good. So I'll go back. First of all, the reliance of the judiciary on the president must cease, and it will cease. Secondly, the no cap to the judiciary. They can appoint today. Ghana has 18 Supreme Court judges. 5,000 people has 12. Australia has 7. US has 18. 8 of them appointed by Nana Akufo-Addo alone. All right. So we're going to cap it. Ghana cannot have more than Australia. Ghana will have 7. And not only that, but then the appointment to that office will not be from the president anymore. The Judicial Service of Ghana will advertise the positions. When there's a vacancy, people worth applying for will apply, and the new Council of State will investigate them, interview them, question them, and the 50 members will vote. Whoever becomes. We have to cut the umbilical cord between the executive and the judiciary. Once they are appointed that way, their independence will be reinforced.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nii. Just going to quickly read you a few of the comments because we've just gone over an hour. Just quickly a few of the comments that don't really require anything. Sheila here says the mindset needs to change. Sheikha has said here, I don't think they realize the extent to which interfering with the judiciary.
100%. The mindset has changed.
Yeah. And Sheikha said here, I don't think they realize the extent to which interfering with the judiciary leads to the impoverishment of the nation. Lucille here said, rule of law is weak and ineffective in Ghana. Besides, there's no transparency and accountability. Hubert says, Singapore has more than a 90% literacy rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kenneth, it says here, 10% of GDP for education. Cool. Okay. Okay.
Actually,
final
literacy rate in Singapore.
Sorry, final question. When you mention Singapore, technology-based economy comes to mind. What is your vision for Ghana? When Ghana is mentioned, what should come to mind? I think that's supposed to say. What should come to mind?
Yeah, Singapore is a service nation. They are running a service economy. In Ghana, when we mention Ghana, what should come to my mind is a fair state. A fair state means that we are everywhere. When it comes to technology, we are there. When it comes to agriculture, we are there. When it comes to extractive industry like minerals, we are there. When it comes to education, we are there. So that's big. No, this is a modern fair state that should come to the moment we say, oh, that country, when you go there, there's special security, there's rule of law, clear property rate, we have all those things. It's a fair state that everybody believes that is part of the system. So yeah, Singapore is a massive service economy because that's what they do. They don't have natural resources, so they serve the rest of the world. We want more than that. We want a manufacturing economy. We want a service economy. We want an extractive industry, and we want a fair state over and above everything. When they mention our nation, that this is the people.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, thank you, Dr. Nii. Thank you so much to everybody who participated with your questions and comments. That's excellent. It's exactly what we want to see on the show. Thank you so much.
The internet is very fun today, but
yeah, from your side, it's been quite bad. I'm quite surprised because it's in the hotel. It's quite shaky, but never mind. We pressed through. We pressed through.
Yeah.
So, and if anybody wants more of what Dr. Nii is doing, as I said before, he has a website where he posts all kinds of information on there on things happening in and around Ghana and African continents. As I said, also, you can connect with him on his social media platforms, so please do make use of that. That's it for this week. Thank you so much, Dr. Nii, for your presentation. Thank you to everybody who posed your questions. And we will be back again next week.
Next week will be my last YouTube from Ghana. Go back to my village.
Okay, so, cool.
Yeah. All right. I thank everybody. Thanks very much. I can see questions, very interactive. Thank you very much. May God bless you forever and ever. And may God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong.
Yes. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, Dr. Nii.
Bye. Bye.